It was the former head of Homeland Security, Governor Ridge, who published a book a couple of years ago admitting to the fact that they had issued fake terror alerts as a pretext to take American liberties and distract the public. And, of course, even the New York Times has reported that most terror plots have been orchestrated and planned by the FBI as a pretext to rationalize and promote their expansion and existence. Now, that said, I have never seen a false flag, provocateur, staged event by a government come apart faster than it is right now. And that owes largely to the fact that the public knows what to look for now, and there's so much more telecommunications out there. There's so many more avenues and venues and people that see something who are able to say something about what they see Homeland Security doing. Now, we have been thrust in the middle of this at Infowars.com because of my awareness of false flags for 18 years, being probably the leading person worldwide exposing them. And there are so many thousands of people that have been doing a great job doing it. But because of my prominent role in focusing on this, we are the big target by the corporate media and major institutions and intelligence agencies that are very upset over the fact that their favorite mechanism of social control is being demolished in front of their eyes. They love to be able to use the organ of false flag, self-inflicted wound, provocateur, and staged events to take control of society. And if that major tool of the societal frame-up is broken, their system is in deep trouble because problem, reaction, solution, creating crises and then offering the solution, which is more power, is so central to their Hegelian dialectic system. Now, that said, I want to go over just some of the latest breaking news. Now, remember, there was a drill going on before, during, and after the marathon of a bombing. That was in the Boston Globe. And they did drills back in 2008 as well with the same thing. So their denial of that shows the fact they're hiding something. And the fact that the Secret Service came and got in our reporter's face, Dan Badandi, when that's not their jurisdiction or their role, the president was nowhere around at those press conferences and threatened him to not hand out pictures, to not show contractors and people that were there part of the drill, to not show some of the Saudi Arabians, shows that from the very highest levels of the White House, they're scared. And I'm going to get to that right now. This is a big deal. And quite frankly, politically, I can see it, but also in my gut, I know Infowars.com and my operation is in the greatest danger it's ever been because we are following this trail, and it is hot, and it is red hot. And we early on pointed out a bunch of prominent Saudis connected to the royal family who were there, some of them that were injured, and the fact that there was an attempt to cover up that fact. The attempt to cover up in basic criminology is one of the biggest red flags. And the White House has been forced to admit that, okay, we denied last week that this was going on and said that Drudge wasn't credible when Drudge was credible.
It was hard to ascribe credibility to them, and I don't know if I would put Forbes and Drudge in the same sentence, but
linking to the reports at Infowars.com and TheBlaze.com showing these prominent Saudi Arabians and the fact that they'd been persons of interest. Infowars.com was the first to release that information. And she came out and said, don't look at that.
But he is being deported.
No, like I said, again, I don't even think he was technically a person of interest or a suspect. That was a wash, and I'm unaware of any proceeding there. I will clarify that for you, but I think this is an example of why it is so important to let law enforcement do its job.
I want them to do their job, and that's why I say, wouldn't you agree with me that it's negligent for us as American administration to deport someone who was reportedly at the scene of the bombing, and we're going to deport him not to be able to question him anymore? Is that not negligence?
I'm not going to answer that question. It is so full with misstatements and misapprehensions that it's just not worthy of an answer.
CBS reports the gentleman was there. We did detain him at the hospital. He was covered with blood. We've cleared him of any wrongdoing, but it has been reported he is being deported on.
There's been so much reported on this that's been wrong, I can't even begin to tell you, Congressman. We will provide you with accurate information as it becomes available.
So now skip ahead 6 days, and Homeland Security and the White House have to quietly admit that, okay, Ali al-Harabi indeed was on the terrorist watch list, did visit the White House many times, in some cases being there for many hours. And okay, Michelle Obama did visit him, and we tried to cover this up. And okay, the Saudi foreign minister did have an emergency meeting with us the night of the bombing. But we don't want to discuss it, national security. So again, at every level, they don't want these pictures circulated. At every level, they're threatening reporters. At every level, they've got something to cover up.
Today, we are enlisting the public's help to identify the two suspects. These images should be the only ones, and I emphasize the only ones, that the public should view to assist us.
Infowars.com. We're aware of the lies. We're going to expose your lies. Again, the world is aware of false flags. Okay, we're not afraid of you. Okay, we got a constitutional right. We know about the false flags. Okay, we're aware of it. Infowars.com.
He's an American citizen.
And the big revelations just keep coming. The Georgia Senator Chambliss told News in Georgia that he had intel and information that agencies and groups knew about the plan for the bombings and didn't share that information and basically did nothing.
Was there any prior knowledge of? Because according to BostonGlobe.com, they said they were doing drills this morning for the same exact thing that happened, according to BostonGlobe.com. Now, was you guys given any warning ahead of time of this taking place?
As I said earlier, there was no specific intelligence. We certainly increase our posture around a big event like this. All of those things happened in preparation for this event, but there was no specific intelligence that anything was going to happen.
But now let's go back to a report from last Friday, April 19th, by Kurt Nimmo, where he pointed out that major Western foundations run by Zbigniew Brzezinski on record have been funding the very terror groups in Chechnya, Dagestan, Georgia, and other areas that have been carrying out terror attacks on Russian-controlled areas as a pretext to destabilize that country. Just as the White House, advised by Brzezinski, is using al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria against groups. I mean, this is such an incredible war crime. And Kurt Nimmo wrote about the fact that the supposed mentors of the two Patsy bombers were and are known CIA operatives. Then fast forward back to Wednesday, April 24th, when it comes out in the Russian and the Georgian news, and the Georgian government releases the documents, their military, that indeed Tamerlan, the older brother, was in a CIA-sponsored State Department elite meeting for these recruits in Georgia. Then you go back and look at how he had an alias that he was allowed to use going back and forth in the U.S., a fake alias. Those only work if they want to let you back in. This was authorized. This guy has all the MO of an asset, of someone being told that he's being groomed to be in the CIA. When you see the CIA ads on TV for young people to join, they're looking for people to not just bring them coffee. They're not just looking for young women to, give them sexual favors on the desk. They are looking for people to set up. And I want to explain something to you. This is 101 in intelligence, in a dirty intelligence system. This is how this stuff works. And these guys were clearly set up. Now, did they really bomb things? They could have been part of the drill. That's why you have a drill. Everybody brings a black backpack. You've got dozens of people with black backpacks. You've got Army people. You've got what looks like SEAL contractors. You've got it all going on in a drill so that everybody feels comfortable. Everybody walks in with their backpacks. You leave your backpack part of the drill to test and see if the police find it. Then it goes off. You're a little freaked out, but you didn't do anything. You're naive. America's the good guys. You don't know that America's been taken over by global crime syndicates. And so you go to parties, you go have fun, you tweet and talk to friends and people. You don't think you're going to get in trouble because you don't think you bombed anybody. And then you get a phone call, as the mother has said. And she's the same lady who correctly said 5 years ago the FBI was with her children. And then 2.5 years ago, the Russians blew their cover and said, hey, You're sending these guys in and out of areas that are controlled with terrorists. Do they work for you?
My son is set up. He was controlled by FBI like for 5 years. They knew what my son was doing. They knew what actions and what the sites on internet he was going. They used to come home. They used to come and talk to me. They used to tell me that that they are controlling his. They were telling me that he's a really a serious leader, and they are afraid of him.
You see, it's all there. The fake IDs, the connections to Western intelligence agencies, the going back and forth into these countries. This is what you expect to see with the drill. And then you see the response of the drill, the checkpoints, the papers, please, the whole city on lockdown, basic martial law. People chanting USA as their Bill of Rights goes up in smoke, and women come out of their houses with guns aimed at them, and the police say, well, they could all be with the terrorist. This is about America not being innocent until proven guilty, but being guilty until we're fully enslaved. Guilty until proven innocent. It's even worse than that. It's guilty until we submit to total tyranny. It's about all of us being suspects, but the very groups, the intelligence services and the security services, which are famous in history, going back to Rome for staging events as a pretext for control. Is there real terrorism? Yes, it happens in the Middle East. It's asymmetrical warfare. It's people fighting back with unconventional weapons because they've been disarmed. I'm not endorsing what they do. It's called asymmetrical warfare. It's not called terrorism. Resisting the globalist occupation is called terrorism. Okay? That's what they call it. Whether you agree with the globalist occupation or not, the point is they call resisting terrorism.
Anytime bombs are used to target innocent civilians, it is an act of terror. Anytime bombs are used to target innocent civilians, it is an act of terror.
But outside of some of the Middle Eastern events and others, almost every event has been staged. And that's why we moved the final piece of information. I saw the buildup to blame the Tea Party, conservatives, libertarians, returning veterans for terrorism, and flip from it being Muslims as the pretext to give up our rights to patriots, because that's the globalist main enemy, because we resist what their program is trying to carry out. And I said at the dramas, the sitcoms, all the movies, they're going to try to go after the patriot movement with staged events. And they were salivating when this happened, saying they were going to blame it on us.
Some who believe it might be right-wing terrorists.
If it was more conventional explosives, which are much harder to get hold of now, that might be some other kind of right-wing extremists. And we...
Normally, domestic terrorist people tend to be on the far right, although that's not a good category, just extremists.
Tax day, was it someone who was you just don't know.
But that it could be homegrown extremists who, of course, have attacked in the past within America.
Etc. Now, if it's a right-wing white guy...
They made arrests and then released people and then evacuated courthouses. They flipped the plan because we had exposed it. And I even said on air, watch them try to blame us. And sure enough, Associated Press came out and said, there's some secret bad influence that did this. And then they say Infowars.com. And we saw the headlines. Tamerlan linked to Infowars conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. In Australia, alleged Boston bomber was Alex Jones conspiracy fan. Tamerlan was an Alex Jones fan. Salon. Accused marathon bomber influenced by Infowars. Tamerlan believed in basically every conspiracy theory. The bombing patsies come from a pretty professional family. Lawyers, oil company people, you name it. They came out day one saying a setup's happening here. They could set any of us up if they get away with this. This is the security service takeover of America. And they are trying to sell us that tyranny is actually security, and it's not. Tyranny is the opposite of security. And they're now trying to frame Infowars.com with absolutely no evidence. Hey, some guy in a foreign country said he liked Infowars. This is just incredibly creepy. To be so on target and exposing their program and to have America waking up to it and to have them have to go so far as to try to connect us to it really just shows that we're effective. You've got to realize there's different forces in this world. There's not just evil. There's also good. But there's also the complacent big middle that wear their complacency like a shield, and you're the people that are allowing all this evil to take over. Finally, I want to say this. We have no future if the men and women of this country, the successful, smart individuals out there, keep sitting on the sidelines. You're good as an insurance salesman or as a heart surgeon or as a lawyer, but you do your work and go home and have a good time. And you think of that as your life. But your life isn't real if you don't speak up for your basic freedoms. There is no special interest for freedom and due process and private property and family in this country. And that's why it's all under attack. You have to stand up as a special interest for basic human dignity and liberty. They try to distract you with all these fake civil rights issues when battles that have already been fought and won, when we need to be fighting for transparency in government, national sovereignty that's a firewall to global tyranny, when we should be standing up for monetary freedom and not to give $85 billion a month to foreign offshore banks and to have that secret from Congress. There are hundreds of other things. The basic right of an individual to be armed. I can't be armed. I'm collectively bad and can't be trusted. When statistically gun owners drop crime by 49% when you have higher gun ownership. But government, that's historically the most dangerous thing that you're supposed to keep on a short leash, it can be trusted to have a gun? We're entering very, very dark times, and it's good that people are starting to wake up, but not fast enough. You need to speak out. You need to say no. You need to get involved and not let them attach tyranny to the chant USA, USA, USA. When we get our factories back and turn our plants back on, our power plants, when our children get off the government drugs they're shipping in and get off the Prozac-type drugs and all the GMO, then we'll chant USA. That's what USA is about individualism and freedom and honor and dignity. This operation is a false flag. It is a staged event. These guys are definitely patsies that were set up. And they're manipulating our tribalism that, hey, the guys from the other tribe bombed us, but we got them. When the truth is they were young men recruited by globalist intelligence agencies and set up horribly. And they could do it to any of us. We're all in grave danger. That's our report. I hope you get it out to everybody you know, because this thing was a staged event. Was it completely provocateur? In fact, beyond provocateur. It was a complete setup of patsies like Lee Harvey Oswald and Tim McVeigh.
Today, we are enlisting the public's help to identify the two suspects. These images should be the only ones, and I emphasize the only ones, that the public should view to assist us.
Yes, these men and their hypnotized followers call this a new order. It is not new, and it is not order.